The Oracle Network. Look deeper.
Oh, little Maya. She gave you her blessing. One touch. She's gone.
Cool, show me your butt.
She loves doing that. It's Cinder's favorite. Look at my butt. Look at my butt. Hole.
Hey guys.
Hey guys, welcome. I'm Abby.
And I'm Shauna.
And this is Anxious.
And Afraid.
So, Afraid. We were talking about a cat, by the way, at the beginning.
Yeah, my beautiful cat Maya likes to stretch and show some parts of herself.
Her butthole.
So that's what we were talking about. No big deal. Not weird at all.
Not weird.
By the way, we're a true crime comedy podcast.
Didn't you know? And we also talk about ghosts and conspiracies.
And aliens and weird shit.
So, we're glad you were joining us today.
What made you anxious or afraid this week?
What made me anxious or afraid? Let's see. Oh, I had to go to the dentist. Finally.
Sucks.
Yeah, I have to get some work done. Womp womp. But what are you going to do?
Adult stuff.
Yeah, I had my hygienist, I think, was new, and she stabbed me in the tongue on accident. So,
Ooh, ouchie.
what are you going to do? Also, my dad isn't doing that well after the accident. So everyone send your thoughts and prayers or good vibes or whatever. But yeah, he already had like back problems before.
That's right.
Yeah, and so, you know, getting into another accident has not been good.
Yeah, that can't be easy.
He called me yesterday while I was working, and I missed his call. I was like, hey, I'm sorry I missed your call. Like, I'm at work. And he's like, oh, I was just looking for a ride. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, I'm working now, but, like, where are you trying to go? And he's like, it's fine. I'll go on Monday. And I was like, where are you trying to go? And he's like, the ER. Like, my legs are numb.
It's no big deal. It's fine.
We should call someone, probably, right? And so, yeah, his friend took him, but I was just like, what? No, don't wait till Monday.
Men are the worst going to the doctor.
Yeah, so hopefully he'll be okay. But yeah, we're thinking about you.
Okay, good vibes.
Madiddy. What about you? What made you anxious or afraid?
I mean, okay, so besides every day feeling like it's 6 months, like it really feels that way. I can't catch a break. I was watching a show because I've mentioned before it's like trashy fun TV, and I mentioned before Paranormal Cotton Camera, I think, on the Travels channel. Well, then they just started Doomsday caught on camera, and it's these people who send their home videos of them getting caught in tornadoes or hurricanes, tsunamis, floods. And I watched the first one and I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. As much as I'm
not this year.
No, right? As much as I morbidly really like this, I was like, my heart is already racing.
Yeah.
I don't like, because you're seeing in, like, there was a house and it was literally filled up halfway with water. And I was like, I can't even imagine going through that.
No.
So that gave me a lot of anxiety, but I weirdly enjoyed it. I finished the episode.
Oh my god. You're like, I had a panic attack. I worked through it. I finished
Just
the
makes
episode.
me stronger.
Oh my god. Or gives you more complexes.
True, it's probably doing more damage.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. So, do you want to just, like, do this thing?
Let's get into it. Tell me a story.
Okay. So, since we are definitely in spooky season,
October, yes.
yes, I thought it would be fitting to kick October off with a rather brutal true crime story.
Ooh, okay.
I also figured it has been long enough, and one of us is going to have to tackle a certain category that we haven't really done yet.
Okay, oh my god, you're brave already.
So brave. That's right. Today we will be covering a bona fide serial killer.
Whoa.
And because chivalry is not dead, it's ladies first. Do you have any guesses?
Oh my gosh, is it ours?
No.
Okay, so it's not our... Okay, it's what's her name?
Were you thinking of Diane Downs?
Yeah.
Okay, no.
But what's the other famous female one?
There's a few.
Well, the one with the Charlize Theron movie, was it her who played her?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
oh, what's her name?
Everyone's yelling at us right now.
I know
You
who
should
you're talking
this.
about. Oh no, you killed me.
We're not gonna know.
I'll scream it in the middle of the episode. No, not her.
I want to say Eileen or E-A-I-L.
Charlize Theron played her. I never saw that. Did you see that?
Oh, I saw it as a kid.
You did?
Oh, it's brutal.
Was it? I mean, the story is really fucking brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I only have one scene in my brain that I remember.
That's a weird ass name.
What is it?
It's on the top line there. Do you know how to say that?
Okay, I was.
Warnos?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Eileen Warnos.
Eileen Warnos.
Oh my gosh, I was right. I was saying Eileen, Arlene, A-L-L.
You were so close.
I was right there.
Yeah, but not her.
Okay, wow. Those were my top 2 guesses.
Okay, but both of those stories are worth telling because those are
Okay, just tell me.
also brutal. Okay, today I will be telling you the story of the infamous Belle Gunness.
Why don't I know that?
Ooh, good. There was a very blank look on your face. I was
know.
like, okay.
It doesn't sound familiar at all.
Well, because there's so much to cover, we're doing a 2-parter.
Whoa.
Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah.
It's your turn to do a 2-parter.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
So, yay.
Cool. Dope.
Gonna be gnarly.
All right, so I'll try to make the lightest, funniest parts. I don't know what I'm
this
trying
is
to say.
back in the day, so, no one's alive anymore to be offended. I think.
Right. Yeah.
So, this story is a historical story, which I love, as you know.
Totally.
And it is centered around a woman, of course, which I think is endlessly fascinating.
Totally.
There just aren't as many female serial killers as men that we know of. Because they could just be so good we've never caught them.
I mean, I wouldn't hold it past our gender.
And this case was fairly well documented.
Okay.
So I think you guys are going to enjoy this story as much as one can enjoy a story about murder.
Right.
So, as always, I will mention my main source for today's story, which is a book I read called Hell's Princess. I know. It's by Harold Schechter, despite the cringy title, which was actually a name given to Belle by a news publication at the time. So it's like one of her murderer nicknames,
Right,
Hell's
okay.
Princess.
Yeah. Always have to have a name.
I know. And man, that's just such a cringy one. I was like,
it's not good.
Hell's Princess.
It's not good.
Not good. Yeah, so the book is great. There's lots of like photos and clippings, like newspaper clippings from the time, which you get really immersed in the story. It's well written. So if you want all the dirty details, that's a good book to go for. I'd also like to say at the top that I apologize for any butchering of Norwegian names.
Okay, Norwegian,
which I'm technically part Norwegian, so I think my people will forgive me. Also, the main story of our today, Belle Gunness, does not start out with that name. So just try and stick with me, because I'll probably fuck up again, like with Ronald and Donald.
Oh, that's right.
I'm sorry.
We all do it. It's fine.
Only he was always Donald, and I just thought his name was Ronald because I'm stupid.
We're not professionals. We're not good at this, so please be nice.
I'm sorry, Donald Fish. R.I.P. Rest in peace. I didn't mean it. And in terms of Borfchort.
Oh, Borfchort.
Or Ralph rating.
Ralph ratings, yes.
Part 1 of the story probably gets like a 1. It doesn't get real nasty.
Okay.
That's all mostly saved for part 2.
Okay.
Where I will tell you some gross things.
Okay.
But I'll try and warn you first.
Yeah, thanks for the warning. Now I can prepare.
Mm-hmm. On the bright side, we will certainly get to test out the new and improved creative cursing book.
All right, and that is all thanks to you. You took the time to make it a beautiful art piece.
You guys, I took the creative cursing book, which was full of words that made us uncomfortable. As you could tell in the past, we skipped a lot. And I just took construction paper and taped over the old words and wrote my own on there.
Yeah, revamped AF. So, and I haven't looked through most of this at all.
She wants it to be a surprise.
So a lot of this is going to be a surprise for me.
Yeah, I really scoured the internet and all corners of my brain
for better words that we're comfortable.
There's and there's some really harsh ones on there because they're not, because before it was like sometimes it'd be awkwardly sexual.
Yes.
But now it's just mostly like,
you just want to be funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna burn. It's gonna burn.
It's gonna burn, yeah.
Okay. let's get started.
Let's do it.
So, our story begins on November 11th, 1859.
All right, we're in the 1800s.
In a small village called Ingbia in Norway. It was on this day that Brynhild Paulsdotter Storstedt was born to her parents, Paul and Berit Peterson Storstedt. She was one of 7 children living on a small farm, and times were certainly tough for the family.
Dang.
They were able to keep a few small animals and grow a couple of small crops, but it was really only enough to keep the family from starving to death. And sometimes they couldn't make do with what they had, and they had to apply for welfare. Which I didn't know there was welfare in the 1800s.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Well, maybe it's because it's Norway.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Brynhild and her siblings, like many farm kids, were expected to perform chores like milking the cows, watching the livestock, churning that butter,
Totally.
fetching a pail of water, Jack and Jill style, all that. Another chore Brynhild was required to do was collect wood for the fire. The family was too poor to purchase good firewood, so the kids had to scrounge up whatever twigs they could find to keep warm. And as we know, people are dicks, and Brynhild's neighbors started making fun of her for gathering twigs, which is like, why?
Why is that an insult? And like, what's wrong with you that you feel so low to do that?
Make fun of a child picking sticks up.
Twigs.
Yeah.
Screw you.
Yeah. Fun fact, the Norwegian word for twig is snørkvist, and the stupid nickname the neighbors came up for Brynhild was Snørkvistpala, which roughly translates to Paul's twig daughter.
What is wrong with you? I don't understand.
Paul's twig daughter.
She's
Ooh.
twig daughter.
Get the burn victim department on the phone.
So ashamed.
Oh, yeah.
Idiot.
So when Brynhild was 14, she was hired as a dairymaid at a neighbor's farm where she built up some serious muscle. And by the account of her employer, she was a diligent human being that in all ways behaved well.
Noise.
However, there are some accounts from other townspeople that paint Brynhild in a different light. I will point out, though, that those accounts were reported many years after Brynhild's childhood and were obviously colored by the awful events our main character will get into later.
Okay.
So these people were, like, interviewed after the fact. In a local newspaper called the Selbygen, it was reported that, quote, here in Selbu, she is remembered by many as a very bad human being, capricious and extremely malicious. She has unpretty habits, always in the mood for dirty tricks. Talked little and was a liar already as a child. Also, as a grown-up, she was still little respected and was a scum of society.
Scum.
She's a scum. Harsh. Guys, harsh.
Yeah, that's harsh.
Another undocumented and unsubstantiated story going around about Brynhild was that at the young age of 17, she fell for a rich landowner and soon became pregnant. The rumor goes that the wealthy man wasn't about to have a baby with one of the poors, because then he'd have to marry her. You just can't marry one of the poors. So he lured her out to a secluded area, and he beat poor Brynhild so severely that she lost the child.
Ugh.
But if the story is correct, then that rich bitch got what was coming to him, because he soon died of intestinal complications that were, like, weirdly similar to that of arsenic poisoning.
Oh, interesting.
Weird, so weird.
Oh my gosh.
Again, unsubstantiated. You know how thirsty bored people get, so...
I mean, it's the 1800s. There's nothing to do but to kill people, right?
Or make up stories about being killed.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Yes. So, other than that, there isn't a lot of information known about Brynhild's early years, but we do know that in 1881, at the age of 22, she packed up her life and was ready to head across the sea.
Lou is yelling at us right now. Why is he yelling at us?
I don't know. He's shouting at me.
He's never done that in the middle of recording.
Michael's giving him the sweet pets. I think he was...
He just wants belly rubs.
Yeah, he was jonesing for attention.
In a sunspot, no less.
Yeah, makes sense. Oh my gosh, Just demanding for attention.
Don't give a shit about what's going on. Okay, let's do this.
Let's just go.
Okay, she's 22.
Got it.
She packed up her
Feeling
life.
22.
That's exactly what she was singing on her way to packing up her life. And she was ready to head across the sea to America to be with her sister, Olena, in Chicago, who had immigrated several years prior. Now, travel in the 1800s wasn't the worst it had ever been, but it also certainly wasn't the best. First, she had to make a 4-day voyage via steamship across the Northern Sea. The passengers were kept in dark, cramped quarters that constantly smelled of vomit from the, you guessed it, vomit that was everywhere due to seasickness.
Ew.
Also, the food sucked, and the toilet was a waterless pit that also just reeked.
Ew.
And just stacked up with poo until it was it's bad.
Not sanitary.
Yeah. From there, she would take a train to Liverpool and then board another ship to America, which would take roughly another 2 weeks on a ship, probably as bad as the first one.
Ugh, that's a long time.
I would be cranky
I would hate it.
after that.
I would get seasick.
You would. You get car sick
I
really
get
bad.
Bad car sick.
Oh my God, you'd be the worst to travel on a boat with. We had like cruise dreams, and now I'm not so sure.
I'm also now afraid of cruise and ships, so I never want to go on one now anymore. I'm sorry.
No one's going with me. I just want to be an old lady on a cruise ship.
I'll do the Queen Mary since it stays there. You know what I mean?
What?
Isn't the Queen Mary
Oh,
a
that,
hotel?
the haunted one. We
Yeah,
totally have to
should
do that.
Yeah. But like being out in the ocean freaks me out.
I get it.
I've seen those videos of like waves in the windows and it's like not chill.
Yeah. And I've seen Poseidon, which is a movie where the boat tips upside down.
There's too many boat tippings that I've seen and I don't like it.
Anyway, cruises are off for Shauna. She would not do well at this time.
It's not for me.
She would not immigrate. She'd be like, I'm staying in Norway. Okay. Brynhild's sister, Olena, was living in Chicago with her husband, John Larson. Olena, like many immigrants, wanted to Americanize her name and changed it to Nellie, which wouldn't be my first choice.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of cute. Nelly.
Nellie.
I like it.
I don't know. I guess I just watched Little House on the Prairie too much, and Nellie was a total bitch, and
Oh.
it's just really
ruined the
tainted
name.
me. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Soon after arriving in Chicago, Brynhild followed suit and changed her name from Brynhild Paulsdottir Storset to Bella Peterson.
Okay.
She would quickly begin working as a maid and laundress to bring in little money for her upkeep, which was fine, but definitely not what Bella came to America for.
Right.
She was done with being poor. She's super over it.
She didn't want to be in the pores anymore.
She's like, I want to be a rich bitch. I want to be a rich American. God damn it. And I'm going to do whatever it takes. So Bella's sister Nellie said that her sister was insane on the subject of money. She would do anything to get it. And in terms of finding true love, Bella's sister said, quote, she never seemed to care for a man for his own self, only for the money or luxury he was able to give her.
She wants a sugar daddy.
Yes, she's just after them coins. Now, on the subject of Bella's physical appearance, people have been, let's say, harsh.
Oh, like calling her unpretty.
Yeah, her unpretty habits. So, to show you what I mean, I'll just read a description of a photo taken of Bella in her 20s.
Oh, no.
Actually, let me just show you what the picture is really quick here. This is her.
Okay, yes. Oh, classic 1800s photo. I get it, girl. I mean, sure, yeah.
She's fine.
She's fine.
She's fine.
She's not ugly at all.
She's got good skin.
I mean, she doesn't have brows, but
Oh, yeah.
it's 1800s, right? It's Mona Lisa.
Yeah, she's got that dark dress on.
Dark hair with braids.
Mm-hmm.
She has big eyes.
Norway. Yes. Let's get back to... Here we go. So, okay, here's the description. She was a notably unlovely young woman with a large head, small eyes, short nose, and a wide, fat-lipped that, when set in a frown, bore resemblance to a frog's.
Okay.
I was like, she's
That's-
not that bad.
So rude. I mean, no one should be commenting on anyone's appearance ever, really.
They're so rude.
But damn.
Oh, she's... Yeah.
That's not...
We will attack her character up and down because she's honestly a terrible person. But
Yeah, she turns out to be the
a
awful.
little harsh.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why people told her she looked like a frog.
So rude.
I know. Okay, she was also built like a brick shit house.
She's too manly for them.
Like you saw, she's like some thick ass curves when you squeeze into a
She
corset.
looks strong. Yeah,
and she is strong.
Yeah.
She has no problem finding a husband. His name was Mads. That's the first name, which is interesting. Mads Ditlev Anton Sorensen. And the two were married in March 1884. He was 5 years older than Bella, with a muscular build, a thick neck, bald head, and a handlebar mustache. Meow.
Meow.
He worked as a night security guard for the Mendel Brothers department store, bringing home about $15 a week, which in today's money is about $450.
Okay.
So the couple wasn't rich by any means, but they got by.
Mm-hmm.
Not much is known about the first decade of their marriage, but we do know that the couple somehow managed to save up enough money to purchase a small candy store in 1894 in the city, which also sold food staples, newspapers, and cigarettes.
What a dream, though, to have a candy store.
I know. That's what I said. I said buying a candy store seems like such a whimsical investment to me.
That would be so fun and colorful.
Yeah, especially, just knowing the stuff that she goes on to do, it's just
sucks that she
kind of like John Gacy was a clown, like those like weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, candy store, but also sell cigarettes.
1800s, man.
Yeah, they also sell them to 12-year-olds.
Right.
You're old enough to smoke.
They're working 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Might as well give them a cigarette.
Here's a whiskey, too. Another interesting facet of Bella's personality was her supposed affinity for children. According to her sister Nellie, quote, she had a great love for children. Almost every Norwegian Sunday school child in Chicago knew her for her kindness. Many remarked on her eagerness to help poor and orphan children as well, but sadly, it seemed that Bella was unable to conceive early on in her marriage.
Oh.
Which I almost think maybe gives credence to the whole miscarriage story. Like, because maybe it damaged her to the point where she couldn't conceive anymore.
I mean, he beat her, so that makes sense.
If that happened.
Right?
If that happened.
Allegedly.
We don't know. But I was like, that would make sense, though, if that's why she can't have kids anymore. And maybe that turned her into a terrible person.
That's awful. I mean, if you like, say you always wanted to be a mom and you got beat up, I'd be pissed.
Yeah. So she actually wanted a child so bad that she demanded her sister Nellie give her youngest child, Olga, who was only 4.
Oh, damn.
Nellie was like, no, bitch, I made that. She's mine.
My kid. You're the aunt. That's how it stays.
Bella's like, you have like 5. Won't even notice she's gone. But it didn't work. After the refusal, Nellie said that Bella basically never spoke to her again.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
So she was serious.
Wow.
That'd be like me asking for one of my sister's kids. You won't. It's fine. She'll love it at my house. She'll never see you again.
I mean, we're all still in the family. It's just now she's mine.
Yeah, she'll call me mommy. I'm the new mommy now.
Totally normal thing to ask for.
Not weird at all. But Bella did soon get her wish for a child when her neighbors, a young couple named the Olsons, had a baby named Jenny, but the mother became ill. And as she was dying, Bella begged Mrs. Olson to give her the baby to raise as her own, and the dying mother granted her the request. She's not scared to ask for babies.
No, that's really bold to ask your neighbor while you're dying.
Hey, give me that baby.
Hey, since you're dying, can I have your kid?
Are you done with that?
Yeah. Oh my God. Jesus.
Michael coming out of nowhere.
Finish that? Sorry.
I couldn't help notice you were dying. There's a baby here. You're gonna... Yeah. So, but yeah, she gets a baby that way. Apparently, sometimes all you do have to do is ask.
Oh
God. Okay. So, years down the road, Jenny Olson's father would actually attempt to regain custody of his daughter, but Bella fought him in court and won.
Wow.
Right. Ooh. When Jenny was only 3 years old, the first presumptive stroke of bad luck would fall upon the Sorensen family. It had been less than a year since the Sorensens had bought the candy store, and it was already evident that business was not doing well. Even though the shop was located in a busy part of town, people just seemed to avoid it, and so the family was making no money.
Nobody wants candy? What's wrong with them?
And a cigarette? Come on. Actually, they were losing all of the money that they had worked so hard to save over the years. So what's a girl to do, right? Well, one day, Bella and her 3-year-old Jenny are alone at the shop when suddenly Bella and Jenny come bursting out of the shop with Bella shouting, "Fire!" at the top of her lungs.
Oh.
The blaze tore through the shop, destroying the entire interior of the place, with Bella claiming that a small kerosene lamp had exploded, starting the fire.
Insurance money?
Of course,
Of
the
course.
place was insured. So the insurance company did an investigation. And you know those insurance investigations are more hardcore than like actual police investigations.
Right?
Because
We're like, we don't want to pay you.
This is involved around money, so they're like fucking thorough.
Wow.
But during the investigation, they found no broken glass to indicate a broken kerosene lamp. Even though they were suspicious, in the end, the insurance company paid up, and Bella and Mads recovered the money they had lost in their investment, and then they sold the shop to someone else.
Wow.
The family then decided to move out into the suburbs, where over the next couple of years, the couple somehow acquired 4 more children.
By asking people?
Are you done with that? Can I have that one? How about that one? Now, the origins of these children are disputed. By now, Bella is in her late 30s, and though she may have possibly birthed a couple of children, looking at her past difficulties with conceiving, it just doesn't seem likely. She may have acquired the children through taking in unwanted or orphan children, which is probably more likely.
Yeah.
Or just point blank asking somebody for
Apparently
their
that
child.
works too.
Okay. Yep, sometimes. The kids' names were Carolyn, Myrtle, Axel, and Lucy. Unfortunately, 2 of the children died pretty quickly after they were taken in. Carolyn at 5 months and Axel at 3 months.
Oh, sad.
I know. But back then it wasn't uncommon for babies to pass.
I know. That's the thing. It's common.
Yeah, in fact, at the time in the U.S., apparently 100 deaths per 1,000 live births occurred.
Not okay.
That's a lot.
No.
So sad.
Doesn't help my fear at all.
I know. I'll stop talking about infant mortality. But because of this, because of those stats, stats, is that the right word? That's the right word.
Stats, yeah.
Stats. The deaths were not investigated as suspicious. At this point, Mads is still working that security guard gig, and the mediocrity of Bella's life is starting to eat at her. She's like, do I have to be poor forever?
I don't want to be with the poors anymore.
God damn it, I'm still poor. And I just have all these kids. Which doesn't help the poor situation, I don't think. So she's already learned that fires and insurance policies are such a fun and effective way to make some coins.
Hello.
So on the evening of Tuesday, April 10th, 1900, another fire breaks out. This time in the Sorensens' home in the suburbs, due to an alleged, quote, defective heating apparatus. The fire was put out. It was put out before it destroyed the entire house, but many of the family's belongings were destroyed. The Sorensens received a fat settlement from the insurance company for their losses.
Cool.
But Bella wasn't stopping there. Her husband, Mads, happened to have a life insurance policy as well.
No.
He was insured for $2,000, but his policy was soon expiring on July 30th, 1900. Instead of renewing that policy, he decided to let it lapse on July 30th, where a new policy for $3,000 would take effect on the same day, meaning for one day and one day only, both of those policies would be valid.
So it had to happen on that day.
And wouldn't you know it, on the afternoon of July 30th, a physician was urgently summoned to the Sorensens' home. He found Mads lying on top of his bed, fully clothed and fully dead.
So this is her husband.
Yes.
Mads died now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
On the day that 2 life insurance policies.
Fearless she is.
Yeah. Right? That's so obvious.
She's like, okay, now I did the store, and now I did the house. I think I'm now going to do my husband.
She's like, that was fine. That was fine.
Keep getting
Apparently,
away with it.
everyone believes me.
Yeah, just got to keep doing different things.
Yeah. Bella told the doctor that Mads had been suffering through a bad head cold and had come home from work with a, quote, fearful headache. Bella said she gave him a dose of quinine powder, which back then was used to treat colds and influenza, but today is used to treat malaria. Fun fact. She left him upstairs and went downstairs to fix dinner. When she came back up to check on him, he was dead.
Oh, just so convenient.
Just like that.
Just like that. I mean,
So easy
She
to
was
die.
cooking in the kitchen, because that's the only place women are, in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And he was dead.
Where else would she be? The doctor thought that maybe a mistake had been made at the druggist where Bella bought the medication. But gosh dang it, she had thrown away the paper it came in.
Oh, darn it.
Dang it. So the death was determined to be a cerebral hemorrhage, and Bella became richer by $5,000, which in today's money is about $150,000.
Whoa.
That's a lot of money.
That's a chunk. I would say you're not poor.
Yeah, when you're like, oh, 5,000, like, but that's
In
a
those
lot.
days, yeah. Dang.
At the funeral, Bella would once again see her sister Nellie, who she had stopped speaking to. Nellie would say she felt such a terrible premonition of fear and dread at the funeral that she became dizzy and was unable to stand up. She didn't know why at the time, but in about 8 years she'd find out. Now a wealthy widow, Belle decided it was time for her to give farm life another go. She put a classified ad in the Tribune seeking a suitable property for her and her 3 children. She soon received a reply from the owner of a property known locally as Maddie Altick's place. And this property had an insane history and reputation before Bella even moved in. The original owners of the home basically left town because they were racists and were not in like-minded company. The next owner was the father of a ruthless outlaw who led a group of criminals around Indiana, just terrorizing the place. He eventually died in a shootout during a bank robbery, and his dad left town in a hurry, leaving behind a bunch of unpaid bills. Over the next several owners, 2 brothers would die suddenly on the property, although I couldn't find out the cause, but apparently it was suspicious. A farmer would hang himself in the upstairs bedroom, and the namesake of the property, Maddie Altick, would turn the house into a very successful and classy brothel before dying suddenly herself a few years later.
Dang.
Her cause of death was deemed heart disease, although rumors swirled that it could be murder. Murder. And then Bella bought it. A match made in heaven.
Yeah, she's like, it's just as fucked up as I am. I live for it.
She's like, the vibes are bad. It sold. I want it.
Feel so comfortable in the bad vibes.
So in November 1901, Bella Sorensen and her 3 kids moved to La Porte, Indiana. But her name would soon change again because Bella had no troubles finding herself a man, especially now that she had a 48-acre farm. Her next husband's name was Peter Gunness. He had been previously married and had 2 girls. One was a 4-year-old named Swanhild, and the second was only 7 months old. Her mother had died giving birth to her.
Ugh,
That's so sad.
it's the worst.
Peter was an immigrant from Oslo. He was a handsome man, described as fine-looking, blonde Viking of a man with clear blue eyes and a pointed yellow beard and mustache.
Hot.
Bella, on the other hand, who had now evolved into her final form, Belle Gunness, she chopped off the A, so now she's just Belle.
God,
That's
okay.
That's her final name, and hopefully I can say that the whole time.
That's right. Okay.
Yes,
Belle.
Belle Gunness. She wasn't described as nicely, once again. An acquaintance of the 43-year-old Belle said that she was, quote, a fat, heavy-featured woman with a big head. She's got a big head, I guess. That's the second time.
Dang.
A big head covered with a mop of mud-colored hair, small eyes, huge hands and arms, and a gross body supported by feet grotesquely small.
Why?
Little twinkle toes.
What a description.
I know. I just imagine her feet making the little twinkle sound that like Dee Dee's feet make in Dexter's Laboratory. Do you remember the sister? Anytime she'd walk anywhere, it'd be like dee 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 dee. That's what Belle's feet do because they're so grotesquely small.
I thought her eyes were big, and everyone's saying they're small.
Right? I was like, they didn't look small to me. I have other pictures of her as she ages. I can show you later.
Okay.
She's not a beauty. I'll say that. But like,
Her eyes might just look small in that huge head of hers.
Right, that's true.
Proportionally.
Sorry again.
Sorry. So sorry about everything. Okay. Anyway, the two probably not lovebirds got married on April 1st, 1902, and not even a week passes before another tragedy strikes. 5 days after the marriage, Peter Gunness's 7-month-old daughter dies of, quote, edema of the lungs. Her body was buried next to the other 2 infants who died in Belle's care in Chicago.
Awful.
The newlyweds would only spend 8 months together when tragedy strikes yet again.
No way.
God, they're so unlucky.
It's like she likes to do it serially.
It's like a pattern.
She's for serial about this.
She's very serial about this.
Doctor, help. My whole family's burned down.
Oh, no. I don't know how it happened at all. Okay, so in the very early morning hours of December 16th, Swan Nicholson and his family, the Gunnesses' neighbors, were woken up by a loud pounding on their door. Standing outside was the Gunnesses' foster daughter, Jenny. She had been banging on the door with an iron poker and told the neighbors they needed to come over because her papa had burned himself. So the neighbors, that's funny that you said burned.
Yeah.
So the neighbors follow Jenny back to the farmhouse and find a hysterical Belle Gunness in the kitchen and a very dead-looking Peter Gunness who was lying face down in a pool of blood on the floor in the parlor, dressed in his old-timey nightgown. A physician was immediately called, named Dr. Beau Bowell.
Bowels. No.
Today, he'd probably do great in, like, the gastrointestinal world, like, missed his time.
Missed the mark there.
Dr. Bowell, who
Yeah.
who pronounced the man dead and noted that he had already been deceased for some time, as the body was already starting to stiffen. He had a massive head wound on the back of his skull, and his nose was broken and bent to the side.
Oh.
Bowell immediately suspected murder. He attempted to question Belle through her loud sobbing and was able to come up with this story. Peter Gunness liked to keep his shoes by the stove to keep them warm. Just so cute.
Okay.
He had gone into the kitchen to get them, and when he bent down to grab the shoes, a heavy-ass meat grinder fell off an overhead shelf, somehow, and conked him in the head with it while simultaneously knocking over a bowl of hot brine that burned his neck.
What a series of events.
Even after all of this, Peter supposedly told Belle he was fine, but a flesh wound, and he went and lay down to sleep it off. Belle then said after a few hours had passed, she discovered him dead on the parlor floor.
Nah, I don't buy it. That's too extravagant.
She's a bad liar.
It's too many details.
I feel like her bad lying is just, like, accepted, or not accepted, what's the word I'm trying to say? People just keep believing her, so she keeps thinking that these bad lies are good. Mm-hmm. Like, she gets the payout, so she's like, I guess if I just make up this bullshit lie, everyone believes me.
Right. I mean, she's the mourning wife.
Yeah. She's sobbing hysterically.
Right. That poor family's now all dead. Like, that guy and the wife and the kids.
There's one child left.
There's one left. Okay.
Brynhild? Swanhild? Yeah. What a name. So, yeah, that's her story. The autopsy of Peter Gunness was performed by Dr. Bell and Dr. H.H. Martin, and their findings were only making them more suspicious of Bell's story. They found no indication of burns anywhere on Peter's body, and his nose was so severely broken, it looked like it had taken hard blows or a very hard fall. Mm-hmm. Not to mention the fatal head wound, which was a skull fracture and deep laceration, which supposedly came from a falling meat grinder. And I know meat grinders are heavy, but like...
But why would you put them up somewhere? Like...
Well, even if you did, I feel like it would have had to have been dropped from much higher to do that kind of damage.
No, did she like swing a bat in his face?
I think she's hit him with something in the back of
With
the
a
head.
hot pan. Because how does he get something that falls on his head and a burn on the back?
He
of his
didn't,
neck
but
at
he
the same
actually didn't have any burns. Like in the autopsy.
time? Oh.
They're like,
So it's
no,
a
there's
lie.
no burns. What is she talking about?
But he has a broken fucking nose. Like, it's not easy to break a nose.
Right. So she's saying like he got hit in the back of the head and then fell on his face and broke his or broke his nose later. I can't remember, but
Did he break it in the fall?
it's
down
all a
to the
lie.
floor?
It doesn't make sense because it's a lie.
I don't understand. Yeah, you're
There's
right.
no reason to try and like sort it. It's a lie. Dr. Bell was suspicious AF and decided to hold an inquest to get to the bottom of this. Further interviews from Belle and her foster daughter Jenny gave more details of the night, including the disturbing tidbit that Peter called Belle Mama a lot. Which is, I hate that. Mama.
Hey, Mom.
Mike Pence calls
Yeah,
his
mother.
wife mother.
Mother.
Just saying.
Hello,
Things be
mother.
weird.
Oh, Mama.
No thanks.
Yeah, so he called her Mama. But the main points of the story stayed the same from both of them.
Okay.
Dr. Bell was pretty convinced that Belle had coached Jenny on what to say, but that couldn't be proven, and so in the end, the death was ruled as an accident.
Wow.
I just can't. The town of LaPorte at this point was already growing suspicious of Belle. Nobody bought the meat grinder story, and the rumors about Belle being a Black Widow had already gotten started.
Black Widow?
Yeah, it's like the term for female serial killers who murder their husbands.
Oh, I didn't know that. Fun fact.
Pretty sure.
Oh, I learned something.
And I pulled that out of my ass. I hope I'm right. Okay.
Oh, you just made that up.
Yeah. I just made it up. No, it's real. So, yes, she didn't help her case when at Peter's funeral, she was seen moaning and carrying on as if overwhelmed with grief, but then would peek through her fingers with dry eyes to monitor her effect on the other mourners.
She's not sneaky
She's
enough.
a bad liar. She's not sneaky. How does she get away with everything?
I don't know.
Oh, man. And fake crying is so cringy.
Oh, yeah. And she's probably like extra over the top with it.
Yeah.
Just even more suspicious.
Yeah. Okay, so Peter's brother, Gust, was understandably worried about his 5-year-old niece, Swanhild, remaining with Belle. Especially since Swanhild was named the beneficiary of a $2,500 life insurance policy taken out by Peter on himself. When Gust asked about the paperwork for the policy, Belle instead offered that Gust should stay with her and manage the farm.
Oh, no. He's next.
He declined the offer and said that Belle gave him an ugly look.
She gave him the glare.
She's like, excuse me, no one has refused all of this.
You say no to me?
See all this, woman?
No.
Luckily, Goose caught the vibe and escaped with Swanhild in the night, more than likely saving both of their lives.
Wow.
They didn't even tell her he was leaving. He just took off. Smart.
Ballsy.
Yeah. Strangely, a few months after Peter's death, 43-year-old Belle claimed that she had been pregnant all along and would need help delivering the baby.
No.
A midwife was called out to the farm, but by the time she arrived, she found that the baby had already been delivered, bathed, and dressed. A baby boy named Philip.
Okay.
Belle's neighbors were shocked to see her the next day walking around the farm doing chores like laundry and chasing pigs. When asked how she could possibly be doing these things so soon after birth, Belle responded with, quote, in the old country, they never go to bed after they get a baby.
You never rest.
In the old country, you walk right out. God. This is coming from Belle, who literally has never had an actual baby. Which is weird wording. They never go to bed after they get a baby.
Yeah, that is weird wording.
She's the one that gets a baby. She doesn't have a baby. She gets a baby from someone else. So yeah. Oh, also the infant appeared way too old to be a newborn, apparently. So slim chance Belle had the child. It's more than likely she once again got it through shady means or just asked for it. Okay, so now with Peter out of the picture, Belle was in need of some help on the farm. Not that she wasn't perfectly capable of doing the work herself. It was said that Belle could throw a 200-pound hog over her shoulder like she was lifting a bag of laundry.
She's so strong.
She's stacked.
She's built.
And she didn't shy away from doing any of the more dirty farm jobs like butchering, planting, plowing. At this time, it is said that she weighed about 280 pounds, and a lot of that was muscle.
I was going to say, the has
She's
to be
yoked.
muscle. She's yoked.
She's yoked. Just lifting a 200-pound hog.
That's great. I mean, that's a lot of work, which is working out and lifting and shit. So it makes sense.
Insane. But this was a pretty big-ass farm with plenty of livestock to look after, so Belle placed a help wanted ad in the Norwegian newspaper, the Scandinavian, and the ad was answered by a 30-year-old Norwegian immigrant named Olaf Lindboe. Olaf, so cute. Olaf packed up his belongings and his life savings of $600, which is actually a lot of money back then, and headed to Belle's farm in Porte. Not long after he started working there, rumors started up about the relationship between Belle and the farmhand being more than professional.
Of course.
Hubba hubba. Many thought the pair were engaged, including Olaf's father back in Norway, who had received a letter from his son 2 months after arriving at Belle's farm. He gushed about the farm in the letter and told his father he would be getting married soon. Unfortunately, that would be the last time Olaf's father would hear from his son, as he disappeared soon after the letter was posted.
Sad.
When asked about Olaf's whereabouts, Belle would give a random story to whoever asked, often differing stories from each other. This is a behavior you will see repeated later on in the story. She just does this. She just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
She just doesn't give a shit.
She's not even going to make it match.
She doesn't even try.
Wow.
She told one person Olaf had left to see the World Fair and was going to buy some land. She told another person that he had gone back to Norway to see the king be crowned. And she told Olaf's father, who eventually became concerned enough to inquire about his son, that Olaf had gone west to find a homestead someplace. Just like completely different.
Wow.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah.
A few weeks after the disappearance of Olaf Lindboe, another man arrived at Belle's farm with a heavy trunk, and his name was Henry Gerholt. He had been hired as a farmhand and moved into the room which had previously been vacated by Olaf. In a letter sent to his mother a week after arriving, Henry seemed to be in very good spirits and was extremely satisfied with the farm and said that he was being treated like he was part of the family. Too bad for Henry. He didn't know how Belle treated her family. Henry Gerholt arrived in mid-April, and by August, Belle was telling people that he had fallen sick and could no longer work, so he went back to Chicago with only a small bag of clothes, leaving his heavy trunk and most of his belongings, including a fur coat, at the farm. A fur coat that Belle was later seen wearing. Stone cold.
She's like, I need that fur coat. I'm gonna keep it.
You have to die now.
She doesn't wait long at all. She's
No.
very fast.
Very fast. And now we move on to what I call the original Scandinavian Craigslist killer portion of our story. Belle Gunness was the OG thirst trap queen. She knew it didn't matter what she looked like, even if if she could offer up a small fortune and an impressive farm. But that didn't stop her from being flirtatious and sometimes rather suggestive in her letters to prospective suitors.
Oh, I mean, she's having fun with it.
Oh, she has fun. Belle, of course, didn't have the internet, but she did have the classified section of the Scandinavian newspapers. This is where she laid her trap. The ad she placed translated into English as follows. Wanted. A woman who owns a beautifully located and valuable farm in first-class condition. Wants a good and reliable man as partner in same. Some little cash is required and will be furnished first-class security. Hot.
Wow.
So we don't know just how many replies these ads got, but Belle Gunness's former mailman said he would deliver 1 to 4 letters in the morning and as many as 8 to 10 per day.
Wow. Dang, they thirsty.
They thirsty for that farm. Soon it wasn't just letters arriving at the farmhouse. Men started trickling into LaPorte, many carrying most of their belongings and their life savings on their way to the Gunness farm, many of them never to be seen again. George Barry, a Norwegian immigrant from Illinois who came with $1,500, which is $40,000 in today's money, after telling friends he was off to LaPorte for a job and possibly marriage. Never heard from again. By the way, none of these people I'm going to list heard from again. Christian Hilkvin from Dover, Wisconsin, sold his farm for $2,000 and changed his forwarding address to his new home in LaPorte. Emil Tell, a Swedish man from Kansas, quit his job at the furniture store and told his boss he was off to LaPorte to marry a rich widow. He left with about $2,000 in cash. This guy's name, Ole Budsberg, from Wisconsin, sold his farm to his sons and told them he was going to LaPorte to get married and left with $1,000 cash.
This is why you don't carry cash, especially your life savings in cash.
All of it.
Right?
All of your life savings. John Moe, sorry.
Joe Mo.
But his name would be Joe Moe, right? Cute. John Moe, a 40-year-old from Minnesota, cashed $1,000 in checks, reportedly telling the bank teller he was going to LaPorte, Indiana, where he would use the money.
It's a scam.
Oh, there's so many.
Don't fall for the scams.
And it didn't end there. A 19-year-old farmhand named Emil Greening, who worked at the Gunness farm, said, quote, Mrs. Gunness received men visitors all the time. Different men came nearly every week to stay at the house. She introduced them as cousins from Kansas, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and Chicago. Most of the men that came brought trunks with them. Mrs. Gunness kept the cousins with her at all times in the parlor and her bedroom. She was also always careful to make the children stay away from her cousins.
Okay.
Because this whole time she has children, like smaller children running around.
Yeah.
Emil did find it strange that he never actually recalled seeing any of the men leave. And while the men certainly disappeared, they always left behind their trunks and belongings.
That doesn't sound right.
Their big-ass
She's
trunks.
feeding them to the pigs.
I'm not going to tell you that yet.
It's starting to sound familiar, actually.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah. Emil recalled seeing about 15 large trunks stacked up in a room together in the farmhouse.
Wait, how many?
15.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine walking into a room full of fucking trunks?
And that's like
How do you explain that?
each person. Wow, she crazy. And plus, cousins. Don't you have some female cousins?
I don't know. She's like, they're my cousins that I'm fucking.
So many cousins. Well, I mean, I guess was that more normalized?
Maybe back then it wasn't as frowned on. Probably not normal though. Yeah, so she called them her cousins. Room full of discarded trunks, which is the creepiest shit.
Very eerie.
So eerie.
I don't like it.
Belle always remarked that she was sure they'd be back for their belongings soon.
She's just keeping them, stacking them, organizing them.
Next week, they said, probably. While working on the farm, Emil Greening and Belle's foster daughter, Jenny, had become close friends. Jenny was now a very pretty blonde 16-year-old, and the admirers were starting to stack up, including Emil. But it was not meant to be. Belle Gunness, probably not wanting the competition or distraction of Jenny, told her that she would be sending her to college in Los Angeles, California, and a professor would be coming to LaPorte to bring her back to California. It was just before Christmas, and Emil had heard that the professor had already arrived to fetch Jenny, but the farm boy never got to say goodbye. He asked Belle where Jenny was, and she told him that the professor had already come and gone that morning and Jenny had left. Oddly, not a single other person at the farm had seen the professor or had seen Jenny leave. Her admirers wrote to the school hoping to hear from Jenny, but she never wrote back. After Jenny left, Emil only hung around for another 6 months before quitting, and now enters one of the more important characters in this tale.
Okay.
He is hired in Emil's place, and his name is Ray Lamphere. He is a tragic fool. You'll see why. Ray has an interesting look. He was a thin man who had wavy brown hair and a giant-ass walrus mustache with intense and kind of paranoid, shifty eyes. He was 36 years old and a skilled carpenter when sober, but most of the time he was either drunk or looking to be. He also blew most of his money on gambling, sex workers, and of course booze.
As you do.
He was generally regarded as a weak, worthless, no-account man.
Ooh,
Ouch. Jeez.
Damn.
People back then were
They're
harsh.
just saying all the harshest things.
Unpretty habits. But apparently, this didn't bother Belle much, because not long after hiring him and moving him into the house, she and Ray started doing the nasty. Belle is like the horniest, right?
You might as well sleep with all these dudes.
I mean, if it wasn't for all the murdering, I'd be like, get it.
Live your life.
Damn.
Get them in your bed.
While many people in town laughed at the idea of scrawny Ray and Belle together, Ray actually took pride in the relationship and boasted about it to all of his friends.
Because they probably looked like totally opposite.
So opposite.
She's so big and thick, and he's like tall and scrawny.
Yeah, he's all scrawny. Ray wasn't the only farmhand she had reportedly slept with either. Peter Colson, who worked at the farm for 2 years, said that she would come sneak into his room at night and, quote, make love to him with sweet words and caresses, and she purred like a cat.
I was just going to say, what a little sex kitten she is.
She was soft and gentle in her ways. I never saw such a woman. She purrs. What? I don't understand that. What? How do you purr?
You did it so well.
Is that a sexy sound?
No.
Ooh.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, she's like a sex kitten.
Yeah, she's sneaking around, getting in there.
But she's also like super built.
This sounds like Pam from Archer to me.
Oh my
'Cause
God!
she's big and thick, and she's the
She is Pam.
but she sleeps with all the dudes, and I love her. Oh my gosh, so good.
Pam's the best. Although I love Pam and Belle's, she's terrible. You'll see why.
Right? Yeah, no. Pam's great.
You already know.
Belle's not.
Yeah, Belle, she's terrible. Okay. Now I bet at this point you were just so sad that I haven't read you any of the juicy letters Belle wrote. Okay. But have no fear. Because some of her letters to a certain gentleman named Andrew Helligan were saved. Helgeline is how you say it. Were saved. Andrew was a farmer in Minnesota, but he had previously spent 10 years in jail for robbing a post office and then burning it down to destroy the evidence.
Wow.
He also wasn't as easy of a sell as many of the other men had been. It took Belle 18 months and between 75 and 80 letters to ensnare Andrew. He was her long con.
Ooh.
At first, like most of her initial letters, started out to many of the men she wrote to, she spoke of how big the farm was, often exaggerating, and how much it was worth, and more importantly, how much was the suitor willing to invest in her property. Because Belle didn't mess around with the poor fellas.
That's right.
But in her letters to Andrew, you start to see her act all lovesick and flirtatious. It's honestly, it's cringy.
It's manipulative. Dude.
It's so cringe, dude.
Oh, it's bad.
Okay, quote. I have now thrown away all the other letters I got, and I keep yours in a secret place by themselves. You truly do not know how highly I prize them, as I have not found anything so genuinely Norwegian and real in all the 20 years I have been in America.
Oh.
In another letter, she writes, quote, I do not think a queen would be good enough for you, and in my thoughts you stand highest above all high, and I will not let anything stand in my way of doing anything for you.
Wow.
In a later letter, she grows more bold by saying, quote, we will have many things between us which no one else will know, which we will enjoy. Won't we, my dearest friend? I will surely see to it that you enjoy yourself. Spicy.
Spicy. Yeah, that's right. Oh my God.
Belle, I mean, back in the day, that was like, oh, hubba hubba. Belle also made it abundantly clear in many of her letters that this was their fun little secret to keep, and Andrew was to tell no one of his plans to come be with her.
Makes it so much more fun.
So fun.
Keep a secret.
She told him to sell as much as he could and bring all the cash to LaPorte. how does that not sound kind of obvious? I feel like
I know.
she's like, I love you. Sell everything you own. I love you.
Sell everything.
Don't tell anyone. Sell everything you own. It's just kind
weird.
of, yeah. And she says it a lot, like at a lot of different times in all those letters because there were so many. But yeah, it's interesting. Okay. After several delays and increasingly desperate letters from Belle, Andrew Helgeline finally shows up in LaPorte, January 1908. With the arrival of the much-anticipated Andrew Helgeline, Ray Lamphere, Belle's current farmhand and bedwarmer, was told by Belle to vacate his room in the house for Andrew and make his new bed in the barn.
Oh, okay.
Like ice cold.
Damn.
After being turned out, Ray said, quote, "We got along all right before that, and she used to come to my room at night. But after he came, she had no use for me." Poor Ray.
Aw. She went on to the next.
We assume that Belle and Andrew spent a few magical days together full of fornicating and salted fish, and then 3...
Wait, what?
Norwegian salted fish.
Oh! It's like, what a random thing to say.
Yeah. Also, apparently, black licorice, which maybe explains my love for black licorice.
Oh, no. I also disagree. I hate it.
Most people do. I'm a
Yeah.
freak. Michael likes it.
I like fennel, which is a vegetable that tastes like black licorice, but I have it with vinegar, and it's very weird, and I love it.
Yeah. I heard if you eat too much black licorice, you can die.
Really?
Yeah. Someone just died recently.
Really?
Yeah, because he ate... But, I mean, he was eating like a whole bag of licorice every day.
Like, ew.
That's a lot.
Like, all of his meals were just licorice.
That's... You'd probably die anyway.
Yeah.
Any candy you ate that much, that's gross. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, black licorice, salted fish. I lost my pot. Do you guys want to take a break real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 days after his arrival, the two walk into the First National Bank of LaPorte with 3 large checks Andrew wished to cash. The bank teller told them that they would have to send the request to Andrew's bank in South Dakota to get the funds, which would take 4 to 5 days. It's like when Michael does the check hold these days.
I know. I was just going to say, like, please be nice to tellers, because we've been there, and
It's not their
we
fault.
can't control that, and you're mean to us sometimes.
Okay, so yeah, it's going to take 4 to 5 days. It is at this point Belle metamorphoses into a Karen and starts arguing with the bank teller, demanding the cash faster. But there was nothing he could do, and so the couple went back to the farm to wait for the money to arrive.
That's what you gotta do.
Belle's probably pissed because she doesn't usually have to spend so much time with her victims. And this guy took her forever to reel in. And now this delay, so she probably hates him just like a little extra, you know?
She's like, man, I just cannot get this one done.
With this guy. God damn it. So the money arrives January 11th, but Belle and Andrew don't show up until 3 days after that, remarking that Andrew had been sick the last few days. Like, maybe she poisoned him just a little to make herself feel better.
Right.
I won't kill him yet, but he'll be sick. The amount of money Andrew was taking out was $2,839, which in today's money is about $75,000. Which is a shit ton of money. So the teller offered that they take a cashier's check instead, which Andrew seemed open to, but Belle, who probably wanted to crush this teller by now, shut him down and said that they would be taking the sum in cash. When the teller asked Andrew what he was going to do with all the money, Belle snapped at him to mind his own business, and the pair left the bank, returning to the farm. Unfortunately for Andrew, he would not be seen alive again after this.
Dang.
Later that same day, Belle asked Ray Lamphere to run an errand for her. She was trading horses with her cousin. I was like, oh, cousin.
Her real cousin?
One of her many cousins, who lived in Michigan City, about 12 miles away from LaPorte, and she needed him to go trade the horse for her. She told him to wait for her cousin in Michigan City, and if he didn't show up that night, Ray was to spend the night there until the cousin arrived the next morning. She was very explicit in her instructions. So Ray and a friend of his named John Rye leave for Michigan City around 5 p.m. But the cousin was not at the meeting place, so John and Ray kill a few hours, but by 8 p.m., the cousin was still not there. Ray tells his friend he's going to go back to LaPorte to see, quote, what the old lady was up to. The pair made plans to meet up at a saloon later, but Ray never showed. Don't worry, Ray isn't dead yet. On February 3rd, Ray and Belle had a bitter fight. Some reported that Belle fired him, and others reported that Ray quit over a dispute on unpaid wages. Either way, the two were extremely salty with each other, and Ray apparently stormed off the farm without any of his belongings. Realizing this, he consulted a local attorney who told him to go demand his belongings and money from Belle, or he would sue. Well, this of course didn't go well. Belle chased him off like a yappy little dog.
Oh my god, really?
And then wrote letters to the local sheriff named Albert Smutzer.
What is these names?
Albert Smutzer. Telling him that Ray was harassing her. When Ray returned once more to sneak around the property, which is a huge mistake, you can't sneak up on a psychopath, Belle had him arrested for trespassing, and old Ray gets fined $1 whole.
Really?
Meanwhile, while all these shenanigans are happening, a loose end pops up. Andrew Helgeline had a brother named Azel, who was told by Andrew that he would come back home in a week. Now, Andrew may have followed Belle's request of not telling anyone where he was going, but he did leave all of Belle's letters behind in his cabin, which were discovered by Azel.
Oh, okay.
Never leave a paper trail, bitch. So Azel writes to Belle himself, inquiring about the whereabouts of his brother. And Belle responds basically with well, I have the same question. Where the heck is he?
Right.
He told me he was going to go look for his brother, who was a professional gambler, and maybe those searches would take him to Norway, but I don't know, dude. I'm worried too. So she's just like making up more stories.
Yeah, totally.
In the following months, Azel would continue to write Belle about his brother, and finally told Belle that he was coming to LaPorte to search for his brother in person. And she's like, cool. I love that for you. I will help however I can. Meanwhile, back into the Ray drama, Belle is a busy lady. She attempts to have Ray declared legally insane. She complained that he was harassing her and prowled around her farm and said crazy shit. Well, fortunately for Ray, his regular doctor was able to vouch for him, and he was not declared insane. However, he was arrested once again for trespassing on Belle's farm in early April, and at the court hearing, something interesting happened. The lawyer defending Ray wanted to attack Belle's character, so when she was on the stand, the lawyer started digging into Belle's past and asking her some uncomfortable questions about dead husbands and life insurance policies.
Nice, he caught on.
Mm-hmm. These things didn't really have anything to do with the crime at hand and were eventually just shut down by the judge, but the questions had Belle shook.
True.
Because people are starting to catch on.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Ray was found guilty and fined once again, and not even a week later, Belle had him arrested once again for trespassing.
Did he get out by spending $1 whole?
I think it was like $19 this time.
Ooh, okay, that's a
Yeah,
lot more
we
dollars.
went up, for the second strike.
True that.
Belle and her 11-year-old daughter Myrtle said that they had seen Ray prowling around the farm, and when confronted, he had cut the wire fencing and stolen a single fence post, which is a hilarious crime. Just
one single fence post.
He's like, oh yeah? He like picks up the fence post and runs away with it.
You're missing a fence post. Burn.
Catch me if you can. Skinny old Ray.
Now the fence is incomplete.
Yeah,
It's
they're gonna
get
out. But this time Ray actually had an alibi, so he was acquitted. Days later, it was reported that a store clerk who regularly helped Mrs. Gunness noticed that Belle was acting very upset. When she asked her about it, Belle told her all about her troubles with Ray and how he was so crazy. Belle told the clerk, quote, she feared he would someday set fire to her home and buildings and that he would murder her and her children. Classic overshare, Belle. No one wants to hear that at the grocery store.
Is she like just setting something up for later?
Right. Seems that way, don't it? That same month, April 27th, Belle's 2 young daughters arrived at school with red and swollen faces from crying. Their teacher asked them what was the matter, and the 2 little girls explained that earlier that morning they were playing and started to play near the cellar until they found themselves down the stairs and almost to the door. Before they could get to the bottom, though, Belle discovered them and yanked them both upstairs and gave them both a bad beating. The girls had been forbidden to ever go near the cellar, and Belle was furious.
Oh my gosh, I don't like that.
Contrary to what you would think, Belle actually rarely hit her children, so this beating was actually really scary for the girls. Yeah, it's interesting. She was actually kind of gentle with her kids. She didn't really spank them.
Interesting.
Which, yeah, is interesting.
But that would be like extra jarring that they got beaten up so hard for that.
Yeah. So they were somewhere she didn't want them to be. That same day, Belle traveled to town and went to see her lawyer, Melvin E. Laliter, I think is how you say his name. She tearfully told him that she was so scared for her life over the whole Ray situation that she wanted to make out her last will and testament in case anything happened. She left everything to her 3 children, Myrtle, Lucy, and Philip, conveniently leaving out her foster daughter, Jenny. She added the clause that if the children were to perish as well, then the whole estate would go to the Norwegian Children's Home in Chicago. She then took the will and went to the bank where she deposited $730 and placed the will in a safety deposit box. After the bank, she stopped to purchase candy, cake, and a toy train to give the children as a treat.
Oh.
The cashier asked her if it was a birthday party, and Belle replied, "No, I'm just going to give them a little surprise."
I feel weird about
Weird.
I feel weird.
Belle then stopped at the general store where she purchased a bunch of groceries and 2 gallons of kerosene.
No.
While she was in the store making her purchases, her bestie Ray walked in to buy some chewing tobacco.
Oh, no shit.
The clerk said neither acknowledged each other, and Ray just stood there glaring at Belle until she finished shopping, and then followed her out and watched as she left.
Ooh, I go word.
A little creepy there, Ray.
That is creepy.
Back at the farm, Belle had hired a new farmhand named Joe Maxon, who helped Belle unload all of her purchases, including the kerosene, into the house. That night, they all had a big dinner together, and after the meal, they all played games and played with the new toy train. Joe Maxon said he went upstairs to bed at about 8:30, and the family was still playing in the parlor. The next thing Joe knew, he was waking up to the smell of burning breakfast. Mrs. Gunness must have burned the pancakes. But then he had that ice water realization that his sleepy brain had told him wrong. It wasn't the breakfast that was burning. It was the entire house.
The house is on fire.
And that's where we'll pick up next week
Really?
for the debaucherous conclusion to the Belle Gunness story.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. Wow.
It's going to get very, very real after this.
Yeah, you just like ripped that apart from me, and now I just feel weird. But wow, okay, damn, this chick,
Yeah.
she's something else.
She is something else. She's crazy.
She's crazy.
She's a legit psychopath, I think.
Yeah, I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. Don't do that. You're giving us a bad name. So.
Us ladies. I mean, she was effective at it, though. Tell you that.
That's also like what's so creepy about it is that she was good. Not necessarily good, but she was just getting away with all of it.
She got away with so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, next week is going to be bananas, so definitely
Okay.
listen for number 2.
All right. I'm ready. I'm prepared for that. Let's do some shout outs.
Okay.
So maybe we'll start doing like birthday shout outs if you want to tell us like your friend's birthday or whatever. And a little birdie told us that it's Kevin's birthday today, right? The 3rd?
Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. Happy
Kevin
birthday.
from But It Was Aliens podcast.
Yeah, we mention them a lot. They're kind of our buds, so check them out.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I think his birthday's already passed, but
Yeah.
your sister sold you out, so
That's right.
in the
It's Carrie.
sweetest way.
And we also have our good friend Ryan's birthday, which is tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Ryan.
Happy birthday.
What else?
What have we been watching or listening to?
Oh, I've been listening to the podcast Morbidology. She's really good.
Oh.
Her name is Emily, and she's like, I think she's Irish, So her accent is just so fun.
I love accents.
I just love listening. So she's a true crime podcast. So Morbidology, if you want
Okay.
a new true crime.
Oh, you
She's
need a
her voice is like very soothing. It's a kind of a soothing one.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
not comedy, but
This is not a new show at all, but I stumbled upon it. It's on Netflix and it's called Mars. And I'm still in the middle of the first season. Apparently there's 2. And it's really weird because it's both a documentary and a fictional show. Because it goes back and forth between like the year 2033 and 2016. And they have like real footage of like Elon Musk and like SpaceX and like how they're actually trying to go to Mars and like the science behind it. So I really like that real life stuff. And then they totally turn it into a show as well, where it's like this crew, like the first human crew to go to Mars and seeing what that would look like, or like the science that would go into that and imagining that. So I really like it. I'm really on a space kick.
it's well done. You like?
I do. I think it's really well done so far.
Well,
It's not
shoot,
really
we like
cheesy.
space. Maybe we'll watch that. Didn't you just tell me some Mars news? They found liquid lakes or
Yeah. They found
Waters?
liquid water beneath the south pole of Mars.
what?
It's highly salty. It's like a high salinity body of water. But they hypothesized that there was an ocean there, and when they took a closer look, they found evidence of a huge body and then a bunch of smaller lakes all around it. So
Yes.
crazy.
New
Venus.
vacate spot.
Oh my God.
Lake Day. Mars edition.
That's awesome.
That's so cool, though.
Yeah.
Science. I love it.
Yeah, it's super interesting. So I'm having a good time with that. And right now, like you can't see, but we're in space because I bought a galaxy projector.
Yeah.
And we have all the lights off except for that, and we're living our best life right now.
We'll post a pic. It's pretty legit.
It's pretty epic.
Yeah, the vibe is good. It's good.
Okay. Is that it?
I think that's it.
I guess I'll say the social meds.
Yeah,
You've been talking.
Man, all I do is talk.
Yeah.
Shut me up for a
You've
second.
been talking. All right, so we are on the social media. We have Instagram at Anxious and Afraid the Pod. We're on Facebook. We have a group and a page, Anxious and Afraid the Pod. We're also on Twitter at AA the Pod. We have our own website, and that's anxiousandafraid.com. Email us any suggestions at anxiousandafraidthepod at gmail. And if you want to be a Patreon, it's patreon.com/anxiousandafraid. And you should also check out our merch, because we have links on our website. You can find that, and our Instagram bio are the only 2 places. And we have some cute designs. If you can rate and subscribe, that also helps. Did I forget anything?
I think all that's left is to say good up and good night.
Good have a good night. Thanks, Michael. Gosh, dang it.
Jeez, Michael, you're fired.
I had to get one in there.
So fired.
Good up and good night.
All right, credits. I only have 2. So I read that book, Hell's Princess by Harold Schechter, and then, of course, Wikipedias. Music by Broke for Free, and edited, as always, by Michael.
Anxious and Afraid is partnered with the Oracle Network.
Every life has a story, and every story an ending. But he died one reason or another, and now they have this body that they're in hiding. But not all endings are happy. And was given a severe beating, including having his head bashed into the floor repeatedly until he was semi-conscious. I'm Devil Dan. Won't you join us as we walk through the blue side of the mountain? Blue Side of the Mountain can be found on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and many more.